But going back to 1954, you had the Geneva Conventions where you can't torture prisoners of war, you can't parade them naked through cities. The right of conquest itself was only abolished a few years before that in reaction to Hitler. So 1946, 47. So prior to that, the things that white Westerners beat themselves up about constantly were just the norms everywhere in the world. And that's a point I try to make in the book. Like, the first chapter takes a look at slavery, and I make the point that we tend to think of this in terms of like the white oppression of black people during the Atlantic slave trade. That was just one of 15 or so slave trades that went on around the world until the Western countries decided to stop slavery. So there was the Barbary slave trade in whites, which anyone of European descent should look up, know about. There was the Arab slave trade in Africans, which I was shocked by when I first learned about it 10 years ago. I mean, there was the Arab trade in whites, which is different from the Barbary slave trade, but that's how the word Slav came to be, like the global demonym for slave. There was the Aztec slave trade where you were going to do more than work. You're probably going to be consumed as food. So not knowing that makes it a lot easier to look at something that we did in America and say, well, that's unbelievably horrible. Because slavery to most modern Americans is bad. And I mean, I'd agree with that take. So when we see this, we sort of think, well, we did this awful thing. How can we ever apologize? How can we ever criticize the society we did that to? The answer actually just bluntly is because the society we did that to sold us the slaves. Like, they were worse, more advanced slavers than we were because everyone had slaves. And once you know that context, it's just like, oh, wow, humans kind of suck. There's that potential. There's no longer any localized guilt. And all those tricks that they try, like, no, you can't look at the Africans with a critical lens, that's really just bullshit designed to stop you from doing that.